Welcome back to Tying That Guy. Kill Bill Volume 2. Ready for it? It's coming at you.
That woman deserves her revenge, and we deserve to die. But then again, so does she. So we'll just see,
that's
won't
true.
we?
Yeah.
We'll just see.
That's a
what
great
he's
point.
saying is if she kills me, I had it coming. If I kill her, she had it coming.
Right.
So we'll just see. We'll just see how it turns out. What I love, talking about fight consistency, Bill hasn't been practicing. He's not a great knife fighter. He's not a great sword fighter like Elle and Vivica and Oren are. But what Bud is, he's clever. And he tries to win the fight by being more clever than the bride, not by out sword fighting her or out knife fighting her. He knows he can't win that fight. So he's going to be more clever than she is.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the fight consistency on that side is he's the one who basically takes her out, and he doesn't he doesn't get in a sword fight with her. Why would you get in a sword fight with the best sword fighter in the world? Of course you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You get your fucking double barrel and just take care of that shit.
But what I love, I want to go back to that point that you made because that's such a great point where he's like, we wronged her. We did her wrong. We tried to kill her on her wedding day. We took her baby. She deserves her vengeance and we deserve to die. But then again, she's killed a lot of motherfuckers in the past and they were wrong and they deserve to die. So let's just see what happens. But I'm not going to worry about it. Let me ask you a question. When he goes to his bar and he goes to work and he gets demeaned and belittled by his boss when he walks in the room. And by the way, there's some great stuff with that guy. That guy was such a douchebag.
He has one scene and he fucking almost steals the movie.
He almost steals the
when he puts the cocaine on, he's like, "Be somebody, baby."
Be somebody, baby. And she's like, when he's just laying into Bud, and she's like, "Do you want me to go?" He goes, "No, you stay right there. I'll get to you in a minute." He goes back to the thing.
It's calendar time for Buddy.
It's calendar time for Buddy. Did you work this day?
Yeah. You don't even know what fucking day you work.
But that is so skilled how methodically he just breaks him down. I mean, and he takes his time. It's like 10 fucking minutes of just cutting him down and down and down.
Yep.
And he's like getting off on it. But so the Tarantino, what I find fascinating with his movies, you watch his movies, the first time you watch it, there's things like, I wonder if that scene could have been cut and would that affect it, right? And usually you kind of come across scenes like maybe that could have been cut. But then when you go back and you watch it and you're like, oh no, that actually means this, or that deepens this, or there's like more revelation within this. And I think you're getting to see where Bud is emotionally at this point and how low he is.
How low he's gotten, yeah.
Yeah, and it speaks to whatever happened between him and Bill. Like, do you remember any hints or do you remember anything understanding of what happened between them two and why he was mad at him?
No, you never get any sense of it. But the things you brought up definitely speak to it, which is that there was some sort of falling out. Bud has stopped doing the things that he used to do when he was still with Bill. He's stopped practicing sword fighting. He stopped doing all that stuff. He has no money. He's broke. He tries to hurt Bill by telling him he pawned his sword, but he didn't. And there's two things happening there. One is he knows that telling Bill he's pawned the sword hurts Bill because we later find out that Bill put an inscription on the sword that he, to the only man I ever loved, my brother, right? And so by telling Bill he pawned a sword that Bill had lovingly put this inscription on is intended to hurt Bill. So that feels very hateful. But at the same time, we find out Bud didn't sell the sword. He's trying to hurt Bill by saying he did, but he kept it, which means that it still means something to him.
And he's desperate for money. Yeah. And as soon as he gets the other sword, he sells that as soon as he can get. So that shows you how he still values that one sword. Yep. And when he's about to bury Uma in the grave, and he says, "This is for breaking my brother's heart."
Yeah.
And so the love for his brother is so strong and it's so there. And the reason that he's torturing her like this is because she hurt his brother.
Yeah. And we need to see the desperation that Bill has, that how low he's gotten, so that we understand what he's doing with Elle. We understand why he's trying to sell her, because it is very clear from the first moment they're together, the first scene they have together, that they fucking can't stand each other.
Yeah.
Right. Like he says, hello, you hateful bitch. Like that's on the phone, right? Where he's like,
right.
Yeah. Hello, you hateful bitch is the first thing he says. So these people
maybe that is what's between them, because she ends up killing him because maybe that's the thing that's between the two, and she's like eliminating that, which is interesting.
Well, they never say what it is, but there's clearly Bill and Bud have had a falling out. Bud cannot stand Elle, hates her.
Yeah.
Right. So we need the scene in the strip club to understand Bud's level of desperation, that he's willing to do business with this person he hates to get the money to get out of the situation that he's in. So whatever happened to Bud, not only did it split him from his brother, but he wound up broke. And you get the sense that all the people in that assassination team had money.
Are rich. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever happened between the two of them, it left Bud destitute and cut off from his brother. So there's a lot of implied backstory there that we don't really get to see.
Yeah, but it's so specific and so real that it pulls you in and you believe it. But I do think she might be the origin of some of that stuff. Ever since Uma left, she kind of probably took over and got in between them. She's kind of like doesn't want anybody. But
are you rebooting right now? Are you in vapor lock? Do we need to shake you?
Hey, have you ever seen on YouTube where they have a montage of people freezing?
Yeah.
Like, and they say they're droids, like they're like human droids, and they're like, I just had one of those freezing. No, I had a couple of ideas of remembering again, like how much they love each other. Like the fact that Elle lied about her killing her brother, because she knows that Bill would fucking kill her if anything happened to the brother.
Bill would kill her. So she has to blame it on the bride.
Right. She has to blame it on the bride, and she's using this opportunity to finally get rid of Bud. So now she gets rid of the bride and gets rid of Bud, and
gets to keep her $1 million.
And keep her $1 million. And I love how Bill went to the trailer to warn his brother Bud. They probably haven't spoken obviously they haven't spoken in years, And so he shows up and he's like, "Have you been practicing? Have you been training?" In seeing that. So there is a love, there's a thing for them, and it's always more interesting when there's love underneath, within that thing, where they just didn't hate each other.
I think the implied relationship between Bud and Bill is one of the most interesting things in the second, in Kill Bill 2, in the second episode. I think Bud is a very interesting character. I like the way that he beats the bride. That he's just, I like that he's not like, I'm going to get in a knife fight with her. I'm going to get in a sword fight with her. He knows he can't win that, right? Yeah. So he's like, I know she's hunting me, so I'm just going to go sit in my trailer with a shotgun pointed at the door. Right. And the minute she tries to open that door, I'm just going to blow her away.
Right. Yeah. And he notices it right when he's walking to the trailer. So all the things that he does inside,
him see something's wrong.
Yeah. Right? And so all the stuff he's doing inside is just theatrics. It's just, to lure her in, like looking out the window, like I wonder if somebody's out there or whatever, and to lure her in to do that. And what I love about is each assassin she goes through, it is fucking no holds barred, barreling down the thing, like fighting. He doesn't break a sweat or even elevate his heart rate throughout the whole thing. He blows her in the chest with salt rock. She's on the ground, he ties her up, he rolls her, he's just really relaxed through the whole thing.
That's what I love about it. I love that Bud, he's like, yeah, I know that you're the best sword fighter in the world, but you know what beats sword? Gun. Gun beats sword. So I'm not going to get in a sword fight with you. I'm going to shoot you with a double barrel shotgun, and then I just win. Yeah.
By the way, who's his buddy over there is like, get me out of this fucking hole.
So that actor has done a lot of stuff recently. He was in this show on, I think it was on Hulu called The Path. He's great. I love him. He was also in the new season, the third season of Twin Peaks. He plays a character in that. There's something about him that he's shaped like an egg. He looks like like the human version of Humpty Dumpty. But there is something really compelling about him as an actor, and the way he plays such a scumbag, and you get the sense that he's Bud's only friend. Is this complete scumbag? Yeah.
But the thing is, though, Ty, like if you were reading a script and Bud was in this situation and this guy showed up, you'd be like, you don't need this guy. Bud is the one. He could be, the story's about her and Bud, and he could be digging the grave and he could be the one burying her. But Tarantino was like, I like this guy. He's fucking great. Guy. And he throws him in the middle of the movie. And he has this one scene, and he's fucking awesome, and you don't even care. You don't even need to know more. And it almost makes it more sad and more lonely that Michael Madsen has this one friend who's a complete and total lowlife.
Who's the worst? He has one friend, and that person is the worst. The scene, okay, so he looks like an egg, and he's acting like he can get better than Uma Thurman. Right? When Bud's like, is she not the sweetest little blonde piece of pussy you've ever seen? And the guy goes, I've seen better.
Bullshit.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. The beer is like half the size of his torso, right? That he's holding, but he's drinking it like he's a man, and like swigging it down, and he throws the thing off. It's just all these little details that's hilarious about that guy.
Yeah.
But again, the calmness of Madsen, when she's resisting him, and he just puts her down and he puts the mace to her eye hole.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can spray your fucking eyeballs out and bury you blind, or I can give you this, and it's a flashlight.
Yep.
And she chooses a flashlight. So it's so, again, like going back to consistency, he's just outthought her. He's one step ahead of her, and there's no need to get worked up. There's no need to put chocolate on chocolate. He doesn't need to be like, if you do, I'm going to spray this in your fucking face. It's like, these are great actors and great writers and great characters that were created.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does threaten to, like, I'll spray this whole can in your eyes. I'll burn your fucking eyes out.
Right.
But I was going to bury you with this. And it's like, in a way, the flashlight is worse because he's like, I'm going to put you in the ground. You're definitely going to die down there. And I'm going to give you the ability to see what's happening as you die.
Right.
And he plays it as kindness and she takes it as kindness. But in a way, if you think about it, it's actually worse.
Right. Did you enjoy how she gets out of the coffin?
Well, so her going into the coffin is the excuse to cut to the Pai Mei story.
Right.
Right. And I love the Pai Mei sequence. Yeah. So I like that entire sequence. So having it explain how she punches through the roof. Now, yes, Mythbusters did this. Even if you break the coffin open, you can't get out. There's no way to get up through the dirt. It's impossible. Mythbusters showed that for a fact. But it doesn't matter. It's a kung fu movie. Being a master of kung fu gives you supernatural powers. We just agree to that, right?
Wait a second. You're just destroying a lot of movies for me. So if you're buried alive, it's not possible to climb out of it?
No.
Because you're it's just dirt's falling and you can't get
It just keeps filling in. Yep. Yeah. So you can't get out.
Dude, I always thought, bury me alive. I know how to climb out of that motherfucker. Now I know I can't.
No.
So, but I will
trust me, when I take you out, that's how I'm going to do it. Because I know for a fact you can't get out.
Yeah.
You're going to think you know how to get out.
Like, you shouldn't have told me, because you know how you could have got me in there is like, you're like, I want to kill Wes and I want to bury him alive. All you got to do is say, I bet if I bury you alive, you can't get out. And I'm like, I'll get out of that motherfucker. And you're like, I bet you can't. I'll climb. Fucking bet me 30 goddamn minutes. I'm at the top of the thing. And then I'm like, hey, Ty.
And then later Jen is like, what happened to us? I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know.
We left. I don't know. He went somewhere.
You'll hear this whimpering voice at the bottom, like, Ty, I'm sorry, buddy. You can let me out now. I can't climb out. I can't. The dirt keeps falling down. It's in my eyes. It's in my mouth.
So yeah, even though that doesn't work, it doesn't matter because she's about to do something that seems supernatural. So the movie gives us a long sequence that explains why she has supernatural powers. That's fine. That's great. And I love the Pai Mei stuff. I love
it. The one thing though, I like how they go back to Pai Mei, and I like how, the thing, and now she can punch the thing. I believe it. But he has a shot where she's just fucking crawling through that dirt. Like she's shooting through it like a jaguar going through the, that took me out a little bit. I wanted to see her punch through it, the dirt fall, and then her hands come out and claw out, because I to believe it. I
agree. I think the scene of her going through the dirt is not particularly well shot. Mm-hmm. It feels very out of place. It's the one scene in the second movie that I feel is not a well shot scene.
It's the only scene in the whole movie
Yep.
Everything else is like a masterpiece, masterclass. It's just the one thing of like, wait, she's flying through the dirt now, and there's
I think the version you're talking about where you see her punching through the board and the dirt starting to come in, and then cut to above, and you just see her hand come out and pull herself out. I think that would be a better version of that sequence because it implies all the in-between stuff without showing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even masters make minor errors. I think the scene of her going through the dirt is kind of a minor error, but it is followed up by one of the best scenes in the movie, which is the guy working at the diner, and you just see dusty ass Uma Thurman coming down the road, and he's just watching her, right? He's just looking at her, and then she sits down. She goes, "Could I have a glass of water?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." Like, of course you're gonna give her a glass of water. She looks fucked up.
By the way, we gotta talk about Uma Thurman for a second here because she is fantastic in this.
Oh yeah,
and the amount, like how hard this must have. Yeah, I think they shot for like over a year.
Yeah.
And just the physical, what she went through physically. And I know your girl did a lot of the stunts and hard work and everything, but Uma did a fantastic, like her performances were amazing. You know, I guess she just lost interest in making movies because she's a movie star. To me, you know, this is one of the great performances, and like since Pulp Fiction or whatever. And so I miss her. I miss seeing her in movies.
Yeah, and I understand how she started very young. She was like 17 when she did her first movie. Mm-hmm. And I understand how you can get burned out. And I also understand that somebody who started out at 17 was hired because of her looks, right? Because she was a transcendent beauty back then, right?
Yeah, but she was talented.
But no, what I'm saying is she was, a lot of her early roles, she was just playing the pretty girl, right? Because that's what, now her talent shone beyond that. She had talent beyond what they needed her to do. But then she started to do some stuff that kind of broke out of like, I'm just the pretty girl. She started to break into some really interesting stuff. But I could see how Hollywood makes it exhausting, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're an actor like Uma Thurman, who's all these roles you're being offered is the same boring shit you've already done. You know, like nobody's got anything interesting for you to do. Everybody just wants you, like when you're young, they only want you to play the pretty girl who takes her top off. And when you're older, they only want you to play the mom of the pretty girl. And it just wears people out, I think. So I get it. I understand it, but I agree with you. I wish people were offering her more interesting stuff to tempt her back in. I wish there were more Quentin Tarantinos in the world offering her really interesting parts to get her back doing stuff, because I agree she's very talented, she's very compelling on screen, and I like you, I miss her. Yeah.
And I think she probably just loves being a mom. Her scenes with her daughter in this movie,
with BB,
she is so tender and so kind. There is a way that people behave with kids, and you and I have talked about this before on screen. Like some people just have a talent. You know, some people just have, when they're with kids, the way they make the kids feel, and the kids just gravitate towards them, the way they treat them. And she has that with this little girl, like the love and the feel. Like to me, I look at this and I know you said that you don't have kids and you write kids things, but when she is hugging her little girl for the first time, and I mean, it's so powerful, and you feel it, and you're like, this is somebody that understands the love of a child. That and so I think, you know, probably that was a big motivator in her kind of wanting to kind of walk away from this crazy business and be with her kids.
Yeah, but then her daughter went and became an actor. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So we finally get to meet. Oh, I guess we did. So you were kind of getting to that fight in the trailer.
Yeah, I love the trailer. The whole trailer sequence is fantastic because we start out with. So you see that Uma got out of the hole. She's dusty as fuck. She gets a drink of water. We cut to the next morning. Elle's driving up. She's delivering the $1 million that Bud asked for. You know, she looks at the store. Bud just, you know, and it's morning and Bud is already making margaritas. He's already got a picture of margaritas going, which, by the way, you know, and at one point, Ella even calls him an alky scrub, right? She's like, you know, the fact that she lost to an alky scrub like you, you know, So he's making the breakfast of champions is a pitcher of margaritas.
And I love how they're like just the details of like crunching the ice as they're talking, and it's just like
they're shitty.
Cheap,
they're shitty margaritas. They're the worst.
And so they're making a point of like it's just like this, like they're like chewing it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So and then the conversation between the two of them, you can smell the contempt. They can't stand each other. Yeah. He just wants the money. She wants the sword. He just wants her to give him the money and get the fuck out, right? And then followed by that fantastic scene where he's been bit. And she takes out her little notebook. And she's telling him about the black mamba. And that scene where she goes, you should pay attention to this. This concerns you. and like reading about how deadly the poison is and all of that kind of stuff. As Bud's laying there dying on the ground. And it's such a brutal scene. And it's the second time Elle has tried to kill somebody with poison. Because she tried to poison, or it's actually the third time, because she tried to poison the bride. She poisons Bud, and she poisoned Pai Mei, which we find out in this scene. She's like, I killed your master. I poisoned his fish heads. So Elle, of all of them, she is the dishonorable warrior. She is the warrior who kills with poison, which is dishonorable, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And Elle was the only character that was killed that I didn't have a little bit of sadness.
But we don't see her killed. She
just rips her eye out. Yeah, she rips her eye out
and leaves her blind in the trailer with the black mamba.
With the black. Because I think that everybody is so interesting, and everybody in this movie it fascinates me so much that when they die, there's always a little bit of sadness of like, man, we're not going to see them again. And you know, Michael Madsen, when he was dying, and they're like, man, I didn't want you to go out like that.
Yeah.
But when she rips Elle's eye out, which is
steps on it,
and steps on it with her toes, and Elle's like, like fucking running it, like knocking the mirror off and breaking everything and just destroying that trailer. I didn't feel any sadness. I was like, fucking,
and I think in that scene, and I'm sure this was deliberate. It's very reminiscent of the death of Pris in Blade Runner, when Deckard shoots Pris and she's laying on the floor and she's kicking with her legs and pounding her arms and freaking out on the floor as she's dying.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course, played by Daryl Hannah, one of her early roles.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a very deliberate callback. Because, I mean, Tarantino loves those movies.
Yeah.
Right?
And he did, because, Uma has the callback for The Square when she's in the kitchen with Vivica Fox and the Pulp Fiction callback. Exactly. I bet you that's what it is because you're like, Jesus, she's going over the top, but that's what happened in Blade Runner. That's interesting. Yeah, good theory. We got to put that out. It feels
like a very deliberate callback. Because you've got the actor who played Pris, and you got a guy who loves old movies like Blade Runner, and of course you're going to have her do the Pris death.
Right.
So after she wins at the trailer, we get this transition moment because now Elle has taken out every member of the Deadly Viper assassination squad. They're all out now. We don't know if Elle's dead or not, but we know she's out of the picture. She's fucked, right? She's got her eye ripped out and she's in a trailer with a black mamba. So even if she lives, she's not going to be a threat. But how does the bride get to Bill? And so we have this lovely transition moment where the bride finds out where Bill is. And it is one of the best scenes in the entire movie, where we already talked a little bit about Esteban Viejo. We talked about how Michael Parks came up with that character during the table read, or at least the mannerisms of the character during the table read. And Tarantino fell in love with it. And we get this lovely sort of mental chess match between these, he knows she's a lethal killer. She knows he's a scumbag. And everything is so genteel. Everything is they're both so calm and they're both so respectful and they're flattering each other and all of that. And it winds up being one of the best scenes in the entire movie for me. Yeah, and you already mentioned how the way that he threatens her is where he calls over the girl to pour a drink and she's got her face cut open, and the incredibly gentle way he says, he shot you in the head. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just cut your face. But he's saying it like he's the nice guy. Well, shooting you in the head was going too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you construct the scene as like if this could be a romantic scene of two people falling for each other.
It is constructed as like a romantic meet cute kind of moment.
Meet cute.
Yeah.
And because we know what we know.
Yeah.
There's that line of tension underneath the scene. Yep. And then the more they play against it, the more we lean forward. And that is what Tarantino is a master at.
Yeah. And the subtle ways in which, even though they're both being very on the surface respectful and on their surface genteel to each other, the way that he is constantly demeaning and threatening her, right? Like, Bill is enough, when he tells the whole story about going to the movies and Bill sucking his thumb to an obscene amount, and he's like, I knew he was a fool for blondes. Basically reducing Uma to, you're just the blonde Bill wanted to fuck, right? And then when he says, if I had met you back when I was still in business, because he's in a wheelchair now, so something obviously happened to his spine or his legs or whatever. And he's like, if I had met you when I was back in business, I would have made you my number one woman. Basically saying, I would have turned you into a whore if I knew you back in those days. So he comes across so gentlemanly and so genteel, and he's threatening and demeaning her the entire time.
He embeds his insults and compliments.
In compliments. Yeah.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's
a brilliant scene.
And it's performed so well. In all the ways that you would meet Kill Bill, I think this is by far the most interesting.
I like how you keep calling him Kill Bill.
Oh, Kill Bill.
His name is just Bill. But
yeah. It's like when you call Matthew Broderick Ferris Bueller for the rest of life. Like, Ferris Bueller. Yeah, the title of the movie. Just Bill. But when she comes in, like, you would picture him meditating, sharpening his sword by a roaring fire. Like, just like
he's got a toy gun.
He's got a toy gun, and he's playing with his little girl who happens to be her daughter.
Yep.
And it stops her. And Uma is fantastic in this scene when she sees and she realizes that's her little girl.
Yep.
And he says, and it's so creative where he's like, oh, you got shot. You got to play dead. And Uma's like, oh. And then she she's going to kill him. And then she
comes in. She's loaded for bear. She's got a fucking samurai sword on her back and a magnum in her hand. She is ready to take some fools out, and instantly disarmed because the kid is there.
And talk about playing against type. Then he does something, and you realize, like, in this thing is like, this little girl is well taken care of.
Yeah.
He's a good father to her, and he's making her, besides the fact that he's, but besides the fact that he's like grooming her to be a killer.
Yeah.
But other than that, he does something so maternal. He's making her a sandwich, and he cuts the crusts off, like the little details of like how he's doing. He knows that she likes it without the crusts. And she moves it over the thing. And then they're sitting there like this could be just a nice, intimate, family dinner that they're having.
Yes,
and then,
I agree.
Yeah. And then, and then they do the bedtime, which is another like intimate family. It's the family that they could have had that he always wanted.
And of course, BB is watching Shogun Assassin.
Yeah.
Probably one of the movie series that Tarantino is drawing from for the whole Kill Bill sort of mythology, because it was a series of movies about a samurai assassin going across Japan, murdering the people who killed his wife. So,
and they take Shogun Assassin. I think I read that book.
So it was a comic book.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, it was a manga comic book, but they made a series of movies out of it. Yeah.
But she takes her time, and Uma's really good with BB. She, there's that kindness and that tenderness that she has with her. They lay and watch the movie. The little girl falls asleep. He makes sure that she's there, and she takes the covers and tucks her in and goes downstairs. And then you see her like change, like, now it's time, fucking business, you know? And Kill Bill's a formidable foe, right? Yep. And so, she doesn't know, you don't know who's going to win or what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah. Well, and when he shoots her with the dart, and says, I'm going to make you tell me the truth with this truth serum, right? And she starts to pull the dart out, and he says, leave it in or put the next one in your eye. All of the tenderness is gone. All of the paternal nice daddy, gone. He's now threatening to shoot her in the eye with a fucking dart gun. And he says it so calmly.
You know, it's almost like you get the sweet, charming Kill Bill, but then you see glimpses of the devil.
Yeah.
Whereas most times you just see the devil with glimpses of other things, you know?
Right.
So it's like there's moments, like you touch that and I'll shoot you in the eye. Like there's moments of the devil coming through and you're like, oh, shit, that's the guy.
And then it builds up to the scene that is, so my writing partner, Daniel, his favorite scene in the entire Kill Bill series is the conversation that happens between the two of them when she's got the dart in her leg. When Bill starts talking about Superman and what makes Superman different from other superheroes and the way he compares her to Superman. It's a fascinating conversation. And Daniel said it is a thing he had never thought of before when he heard him talking about it. Like, Superman doesn't put on a costume. His costume is Clark Kent. You know, Spider-Man puts on a costume to become Spider-Man, but he's really Peter Parker. Superman is Superman. He has to put on a costume to be Clark Kent. And the way that is completely different from any other superhero of the time. Yeah, that conversation is fascinating.
Yeah, when Peter Parker wakes up, he's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He has to put a costume. Superman wakes up, he's Superman.
Yep.
And what really infuriated him about the whole wedding situation, everything, was the fact that she was trying to be something that she's not. And he thinks that she's magnificent and she's a part of his creation.
Yeah.
And the fact that she like undermined that or went against that was infuriating to him and broke his heart.
Yeah. Well, so the thing that becomes very clear in multiple ways, it is the conversation at the beginning in the hospital with Elle, the conversation with Bud at the trailer, the conversation at the end with the bride. It becomes very clear that the most important thing in Bill's life is control. He doesn't like things when things are not in his control, when he doesn't dictate the terms of every relationship. He needs to feel that way. And the fury that he feels at the bride is because she threw off his control. You know, she even says, there was a time when I would have done all these crazy things for you. And that's what he liked. He liked that she would do anything for him. He liked that control that he had over her. And when she said, no, the kid is more important than you, that is the source of their breakup, right? As soon as she said, I think the kid is more important than your bullshit, that's the end of the relationship. And I've met people in real life. The thing that killed their relationship is when they had a kid. And it is often the one person needing to feel like they're the most important thing in the world to the other person, and then realizing that the kid has now taken that role, and that breaks them up. And I think that's where Bill is at. When the bride made it clear that the baby was going to be the most important thing, and that the baby was not going to be under Bill's control, that's what breaks them up.
And we go back to the honor among thieves, because Bill has the jump on her with the gun. He could have killed her with the gun, but he's not going to take it out like that. What is the name of that punch? The way that they set this up early in the movie and the way that he described it, and it's kind of like the highest honor of their master.
It's his most it's the deadliest punch in all of martial arts.
It's the deadliest punch of all of martial arts. And the fact, because the layers of her killing him with that punch is one, it's the punch that he didn't know. Yep. It's a level of knowledge that she has above him.
Yep.
That she was the prized pupil within that situation. So using that against him has so much layers to it.
It's also the second big cock tease of the movie series. So Tarantino does this to us twice. He edges us, teases us, and then doesn't give us the orgasm. Because in the first movie, when the bride faces off with Vernita Green, Vernita's like, we're going to put on black outfits. We're going to go out into this park at midnight where nobody will see us, and you and I will have a knife fight. Right? And then that's not what happens. Vernita tries to shoot her with the gun. She throws the knife and kills her. So we never get to see that. We get the second fucking cock tease in this where Bill's like, you and me, we're going to go down to there's this particularly beautiful beach that's beautiful at dawn.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go down to the beach. You're going to bring your samurai sword. I'm going to bring my samurai sword. We'll have a sword fight on the beach at dawn. It'll be very classic. It'll be very old school. And then we don't get that. It's the second time he teases us that way. what we get instead is Bill just tries to kill her. Like he tries to get the jump on her and kill her, right? And she is able to avoid his sneak attack, and then she delivers the 5-point palm exploding heart technique punch on him.
I think the scene is more powerful as it is because the scene.
No, I'm not saying it would have been better.
I know.
I'm saying that he's doing that same storytelling gimmick of giving us little cock tease and then doing something else. Yeah.
But what I love so much about this scene is you see two people that love each other, but the fact that she has a kid that has changed her very nature, and now the nature of who she is and the nature of who he is cannot exist together. Yeah. And so, in not existing together doesn't mean they're going to split up or break up. That means one of them has to die for the other one to exist. And it's painful.
Uma
for
already
both
tried
of them.
the breakup version. She already tried that.
Yeah. So at this point, you know that's not an option.
It's not an option.
It can't. And she knows that's not. Bill would never stop. And Bill says, "I'm sorry, I'm a murdering son of a bitch." You know. Yeah. So she knows, and he knows that can never happen. He will never stop pursuing her. So somebody has to die within this.
Yep.
And when she does the punch and he accepts the fact, first of all, he takes the blow, the emotional blow, like, the punch? He taught you the punch? Then he accepts the fact that he's going to die.
Yeah. Well, he knows what happens. You take the 5 steps and you fall over dead.
Yeah. And then there's that Kramer versus Kramer moment, that really famous moment where Meryl Streep's in the elevator and Dustin Hoffman is standing there, and they just went through this horrific divorce in courts and everything like that. Yep. And she decides that she's not going to take the kid and that she's going to leave the kid with him. And she gets in the elevator and she looks at him and she draws her eyes and she says, "How do I look?" And he says, "You look beautiful." And it's a moment where it's like, even though they can't be together, even though they have that they have differences that they can't ever solve, they still love each other on some level, right?
Yeah, there's still some connection.
There's still some connection. So when he looks at Uma and he straightens and he says, "How do I look?" And she says, what does she say?
"You look ready."
You look ready. And then he stands up and like a man turns around, does his 3 steps, heart stops, he dies, hits the ground, and you see it cost her. It's not relief or elation or this thing is over. It cost her because she did love him. If you're doing a scene like this, if they love each other, it's so much more interesting for them, because even though he's a motherfucker and even though he did what he had to do, they love each other in spite of all that. And so when he drops dead, now the cathartic scene, like I needed when she's laying in the bathroom floor and she's hugging the thing and just fucking letting everything out. I needed that because the tension that you're going through with this pyramid of deadly assassins, and she's getting buried alive. She's getting shot in the chest with buckshot.
She just killed like 100 people with a sword.
Killed 100 people with a sword. She's being raped by Buck. She's got all this shit that she's being through. But the love of her daughter, number one, provokes the revenge. But then actually finding her daughter, finding the thing that she thought she's lost forever. She's now vanquished all of the threats, all of the enemy, and she's with her daughter. And just that release, that emotional release, is a great climax in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, and we needed that moment. We needed the moment of her finally being vulnerable and letting all of the emotion out. It's a short scene, but it's an important scene. We needed it.
Smart note. Yeah. So where is Kill Bill in your Tarantino top 5?
Yeah, so we talked about that, doing a Tarantino top 5. Joseph failed to prepare a top 5, which is why we're firing him later. Which is why Wes is being so nice to him.
Yeah,
he knows
I'm going on vacation and I'm staying on it.
We're gonna miss you, Joseph. Just so you know, it's gonna be hard to do this without you.
Yeah. So what Joseph has put together here it is a list of the movies he's directed and also the list of the famous movies that he has written. So, I think True Romance is the first movie he wrote that actually got shot. I believe that's correct, right?
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. That's the first script he ever wrote.
True Romance.
And first script he ever wrote, and the first one ever got shot.
Yeah, he sold it. It was actually produced. Tony Scott directing.
Now, here's an interesting thing about True Romance that I just learned. I always thought Tarantino did not like True Romance because the famous story is he did not like the happy ending that they give them at the end. But I just saw him on Charlie Rose. I just was watching him on YouTube on Charlie Rose, and he talks about True Romance being one of his favorite movies that have been made from his writing, which was completely different than what I thought. And he says, because that movie is like looking into my psyche when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I worked at this video store and I had these best friends, and everything we thought was cool, everything we talked about, everything we discussed is all in that movie.
Clarence is so clearly a Tarantino stand-in.
And he says, at that point in his early 20s, he had never had a girlfriend.
Wow.
And he says that Patricia Arquette, Alabama, was what he dreamed would be the dream girlfriend of what he dreamed to actually be with. And there's something so interesting because True Romance is kind of a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And Alabama is this woman she's elevated in a way.
And she's a thing that would never happen in the real world. So she is sort of a fairy tale version.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, nobody has a hooker hired for them by their boss, and then the hooker falls in love with them. That doesn't happen.
And especially like somebody like Clarence, and is somebody that is like Patricia Arquette, like that is probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're Clarence, Alabama is not going to fall in love with you.
Like at the end of True Romance, if it was a Tyler Durden situation where like Alabama never existed and it's what existed in your mind, like I would have bought that. I would believe that.
You'd be like, he was just jerking off the whole time.
Right. He was just like, and then it has all flashbacks of like him in the phone booth and him in this, like just jerking off. But I really love that movie, and I think it's really good. And I
don't
really
think we can put it. I think it can be a honorable mention because I think we have for the top 5 here we have to stick with things that he's actually directed.
Okay,
but I agree with you. I think True Romance is a good movie, and it might be my favorite Tony Scott movie.
Yeah,
because I like the way it's directed. I like what he did with the actors. It has my favorite Brad Pitt moment ever is in True Romance. And I love Brad Pitt. I'm a Brad Pitt stan. I got a big hard on for Brad Pitt. But
he's
my favorite moment he ever did is when he's playing the stoner in True Romance. He's laying on the couch and the mobsters come in and they like threaten him and stuff and they leave. And he's just laying there after they've left. And he just he's like, fuck you. Fucking kill you.
I'll kill you. Don't you condescend to me. Did you
fucking kill you?
At that time, like that's one of Pitt's best performance. It was like, well,
it was so out of type.
Yeah. It was so, well, it might have been close to his real life type, but it wasn't his on-screen persona.
It wasn't the on-screen persona. Yeah.
I actually, Christopher Walken scene is one of my favorite Christopher Walken scenes of all time. He's in there.
The scene that we're not going to quote because it is filled with objectionable terminology.
Well, the one quote we will say is, when you die, tell the angels in heaven that you've never seen evil more singularly personified than you do in the eyes of the man that's going to kill you.
Yeah.
So cold-blooded.
Start talking before I do some damage you won't walk away from. Yeah. And Tony Soprano's there, which is awesome.
Oh, and he's great.
Gandolfini,
It's a hard scene to watch, but he's great in it.
Oh, where he fights with that. I actually love the fight with Alabama because I love that he's so physically outmatches her. And the reason she wins is because she's just scrappy.
She's tougher than him.
She's just scrappy. Yeah.
So it's interesting with by the way, I guess I don't even know. We kind of jumped into the movie. We haven't really like had a long talk about Tarantino, and his movies when he's passed. So, but like all of these movies, I just read Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I really love that movie. But I think I like the book more. And
you've said that. You said that the book there were things about the book you liked even more.
It takes its time, and the Brad Pitt's character is so fascinating to me, and it is in the book. And what's interesting is I just read Tarantino's film criticism, his book, and it's going to sound weird, but Tarantino is a fantastic writer. Okay, and you're like, yeah, we all fucking knew that. Well, there's a lot of great screenwriters where they're really good at screenwriting, and maybe if they write novels or if they write film criticism or whatever, they're not But there's very few people that like a William Goldman who write everything, their books, their criticisms, their autobiography, like everything is fucking great. And Tarantino is phenomenal around it. So I would put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at the top of the list right now because I'm just into it right now.
I really like that movie, so I'm not going to raise a strong objection. I really like it. I think every Quentin Tarantino movie is good. I think they're all good. I don't think he has a bad movie in him. So I'm just going to go off the ones that I rewatched the most, the ones that I can watch over and over again. And if I come in, it's 15 minutes in the movie, I'm going to sit down and watch the whole thing. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like that. Like it's one of those movies I could watch that movie over and over again. There's just something about the movie, something about the performances, something about the dialogue in that movie that makes it very rewatchable. The other one for me is going to be a bit of a dark horse because most people don't agree. I'm a huge Jackie Brown fan. I love Jackie Brown. I think it is the best movie version of a Elmore Leonard story ever. And Elmore Leonard himself said it was that Tarantino got the Elmore Leonard voice better than any other writers tried to adapt his work. And I agree with that. The voice in Jackie Brown is Elmore Leonard's voice. It is that punchy, gritty dialogue. No wasted space in the dialogue. It's eminently rewatchable for me. And I love the performances in it. I love Robert Forster. It was his comeback role. He'd been out of the public consciousness for 20 years, and he had this amazing comeback in it. Yeah,
I love Tarantino's casting too. By the way, he's so interesting in the way he cast. I mean, like what he did with John Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
But I will say, like, there is a bit of a revisionist fandom when it comes to Pulp Fiction. Like, for some reason, some people have kind of been down on it or whatever. But that was my first experience. I mean, I saw Reservoir Dogs, and I love Reservoir Dogs, but it wasn't a time when I was aware of, like, the director or who wrote it or anything like that. It was, like, something I saw. But Pulp Fiction was the first time where I was like, who's this guy, Quentin Tarantino, and what's this movie that everybody's talking about? And that experience, that going to see Pulp Fiction for the first time was a profound experience for me. And I don't remember seeing anything quite like that before.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I would definitely put Pulp Fiction on that list.
Yeah, and I've seen Pulp Fiction a bunch of times, so it is a rewatchable movie for me for sure. And there's different segments of it because it's a very segmented movie. There's different segments that hit me at different times. So whichever one is my favorite seems to constantly change.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fantastic. And
Christopher Walken has a great scene in that one too.
Yeah. He does. Christopher Walken has a fantastic scene in that movie. It's one of my favorite Bruce Willis parts.
Oh yeah. Bruce, you know, it's funny because Bruce Willis, Tarantino brings out the greatest performance. I mean, look how, like, I love Daryl Hannah. I love her. Yeah. But she is more compelling in Kill Bill than anything I've seen her in. She's, you know, and whenever he works with actors like Travolta in Pulp Fiction, you know, and but Bruce Willis
and Robert Forster and Jackie Brown.
Right. Yeah. He is somebody that actors would kill to work with because he brings out the best in them.
And let's take a moment here because we didn't talk about this when we're talking about Kill Bill, but let's take a moment to tip our hats to the greatest of all Quentin Tarantino actors, Samuel L. Jackson, who has a little bit part in Kill Bill at the beginning where he plays the piano player for the church, and it's his only part. He kills it, of course. He's hilarious. It's a very funny part. He's awesome in it. But anytime Samuel L. Jackson shows up in a Tarantino movie, you're in for a good time.
Well, and, you know, go back to Pulp Fiction. I remember that's the first time I really we've all seen Samuel L. Jackson. He's been working forever. But Pulp Fiction, I was like, oh my God, this is like one of my favorite performances of all time.
Jules is awesome in Pulp Fiction. Like if the whole movie was just Jules, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, that's a good callback. And again, I love when directors work with the same people over and over. I love that Samuel L. came and did a piano scene, like in that, the fact that he's in every movie.
Okay, so Death Proof is not what, and it's obviously it was meant to be part of a two-part, the Grindhouse thing with Planet Terror and Death Proof being shown as a two-parter thing. And it's very campy. It's very pulpy, obviously. But I admit I can rewatch Death Proof. The thing I love about Death Proof is the first half of Death Proof where it's them going to look at the car and they're hanging out. It's pretty slow. Once you get past the scene where there's a long, slow scene where it's stuntman Mike and he picks up the girl. Picks up what's her face, Rose. Anyway, wait.
I think it's happened to us both.
Yeah, we both have.
Pretty soon the podcast.
It's just us trying to remember people's names.
Yeah.
So it's
Gravy, a Danish. Go ahead.
So it's you have the long build up to stuntman Mike picking up Rose McGowan, and then you have the scene where he kills the girls. Right. It's pretty slow. I mean, it's lovely. There's lovely dialogue in there. It's classic Quentin Tarantino dialogue. Then you have the long, slow scene of the it's 4 girls, going to go look at the car, the classic car, right? And it's long, slow stuff with lots of dialogue. But once they get in the car fight with the Kurt Russell character, that movie is awesome. Whereas Zoe is on the roof of the car and they're in the car fight, and then the cars go off the road and the Kurt Russell character is like laughing, and then the Zoe Bell's friend pops out of the car with a fucking revolver and unloads on him, right? And then it becomes them hunting him, and Zoe's got the big piece of metal, which is very Road Warrior, you know, she's got like the big pipe, like it's such a Road Warrior scene, and smashes the windshield and all of that stuff. That is so much fun. It is so cathartic. Where these girls just fuck him up after we've seen him murder the other girls.
Yeah.
Even though Death Proof is not, I think, a great movie, it is so much fun that I can watch it over and over again.
Well, all you guys say is Kurt Russell, and then it's already in the awesome category. But number 2, when tables turn like that, that's my favorite thing in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Where then the guy that's causing all the terror and all the fear ends up being the one that's afraid, you know?
Well, and that's why you liked Your Next, right? Is because
yes, that's why I liked Your Next.
Yeah, when she turns the tables on them.
Yeah, she turns the tables. And then even Kurt Russell in the thing is so great because he allows the tables. He's like, you know, the way he acts afterwards.
Yep.
I enjoyed that. What I didn't enjoy was the other one. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It
Planet
was just
Terror?
like, yeah, Planet Terror. Like I watched it once.
Yeah.
If I'm watching that, if it's Death Proof, I'll stay. If it's not, I'm out. But I don't think it should be on the top 5.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it not being in the top 5. But we're talking about Death Proof by itself without Planet Terror, right?
Yeah.
The thing I do like about Planet Terror is as a fantastic Michael Parks scene, and we've talked about how fantastic Michael Parks is, and as a great Josh Brolin scene.
Should we put Kill Bill up there?
I think we should. I mean, I think Kill Bill is it's a masterpiece of all of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies jammed together into one awesome recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough, but I would take Inglourious Bastards over the other 3.
Okay, now hear me out. I think Inglourious Bastards is great. But there is a big dead spot in the middle of Inglourious Bastards that I always forget about, and then when I'm rewatching the movie, I hit it. The spot where they're planning the movie thing, and it's her being spy, and it's her, you know, and it's all that.
Yeah.
It is such a dead spot in the middle of that movie. I always forget, and then it gets to that spot. I'm like, why is this spot so long? Why is it taking so long to get to the next part? So that kind of colors that movie for me. But
for me, the Michael Fassbender scene when they're down in that basement is so
it's
good,
fantastic
that it wins the whole thing. You know,
that is a fantastic scene. It has one of my absolute favorite Brad Pitt moments ever. You know, like the right up there with, don't condescend to me, I'll fucking kill you. Right up there with that is when the scene where he's talking to his recruits and he's talking about how the Nazi ain't got no humanity.
The Nazis.
They ain't got no humanity. They're the goose-stepping foot soldiers of a Jew-hating whatever he says, and they need to be destroyed. I love that scene. That's a fantastic scene. So pretty much anything with Michael Fassbender in it is great. Anything with Brad Pitt in it is great. There's that big dead spot in the middle that kind of makes it not one of my favorite movies. I think it's as good as Hateful Eight. I mean, I think Hateful Eight is pretty fascinating, but again, it has some dead spots in it.
But whenever there's a tie, Kurt Russell's the tiebreaker.
And Kurt Russell is great. When the hangman catches you, but I can't remember the character's name, but they just call him the hangman. When the hangman catches you, you hang.
Yeah, this is tough.
I think of all of these, the tightest, the most perfect movie that's left is Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs is a perfect movie. It is tight. It's concise. It is perfectly paced. It is incredibly watchable. All of that. I think Reservoir Dogs has to be our. Let's see.
I think you're right, because it's the first thing he ever directed. It came out of the gate. And listen, because it was such a sensation, Reservoir Dogs, like the momentum of that movie gave him a career.
Yep.
You know?
Reservoir Dogs shocked people.
Yeah.
Like they were not ready for that movie.
And the caliber of actors actors know a good script when they get it. The caliber of actors he got, because there was something special about that script. And the fact he created that movie with no reputation.
Yep,
it was reputation. This is but he created that movie off his God-given talent. You know, that script came out, and like now Tarantino can, you know, he can live off his reputation. He can give somebody the phone book, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'd love to do the phone book. Let's do the movie.
Yeah, let's do the phone book together."
At this time, you know, the odds were against him, you know, and it was Reservoir Dogs just had so much swagger and so much like punk rock, young, strong talent. So I think we got to put Reservoir Dogs.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the reason he got everybody is because of Harvey Keitel, right? Wasn't it Keitel the first one to get that script and really fall in love with it?
Yeah, Harvey Keitel definitely like backed him and sang his praises or whatever. But everybody read the script and was like, wow, you know. And even he, by his own admission, he wasn't a great director. He was a great writer.
Yeah.
And there, you know, that movie is a little bit rough in certain spots in terms of directing and editing and certain things like that. But the dialogue, the characters, and the relationships is so strong that you kind of go over all the rough stuff. Now he's strong in every area. So these movies are like masterpieces, but you always got to go back to that beginning when it was like when you first discover it and first see it.
Well, he definitely filled in any gaps in his skill set very quickly, because between Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, I think is a masterfully directed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever gaps he had in his knowledge, whatever skills he didn't have yet when he made Reservoir Dogs, somehow he found a way to learn those things by the time he made Pulp Fiction, because Pulp Fiction is a director's masterpiece.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for hanging out. We love you. We miss you. Please like and subscribe.
Except for that one guy.
Except for that one I bet that guy doesn't like Kill Bill.
I bet he doesn't.
I bet he doesn't. I bet he's hate watching us right now.
Yeah.
We hate you too.
Yeah. Fuck you for not liking Kill Bill.
Yeah, fuck you.
I'll fucking kill you. Condescend to me.
Kill you. Condescend to me. Condescend to me. Motherfucker. Fuck you. I'll kill you. Fucking kill you.
But other than that guy, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And for anybody who is a patron of ours, we appreciate you too. Joseph appreciates you because he actually, gets a few dollars to feed his children, and that's an ongoing concern for Joseph, not being able to feed his kids.
I actually gave Joseph another job.
Yes, so, I gave him a second job so that his kids won't die.
So his kids won't die.
Yeah.
Say goodbye, Ty.
Goodbye, Ty.